And through the summer, we really decided that we wanted to continue providing these outlets, opportunities for conversation, input, and the rest on the topic itself of dementia. So this is always something that we want to continue. However, we are also, as some of you know, we have started now the Memory Cafe program. So beginning in January, we will have a rhythm of a Memory Cafe on the second Thursday of the month. And then on the fourth Thursday of the month, we'll have this kind of gathering, what I call a networking, where we have resources, presenters like Gary and Pam and Cynthia and Dr. Dahmer and others. We'll have them come in on the fourth Thursday of the month. So that way we'll be able to continue providing both an alternative way of being with Memory Cafe, but also the opportunity to get some good quality input like today. We are calling our ministry Caring Through Dementia. Now, the word caring, care, is the first part of that. And what does that mean? So I didn't know the origin of that name, of that word, but I found out, reading a little book on the spirituality of caregiving, that caring comes from the word kara, K-A-R-A, which I imagine is Greek, which means to lament, to mourn, to participate in suffering, to share in pain. Now, listening to that, we think of caregiving oftentimes as a lot of tasks, a lot of doing things. But a lot of it, caregiving is about being present to another. To care is to cry out with those who are ill, confused, lonely, isolated, forgotten, to recognize their pains in our own heart. To care is to enter into the world of those who are broken and powerless, and to there establish a fellowship of the weak. To care is to be present to those who suffer and to stay present, even when nothing can be done to change their situation. So caring, hi Cynthia, caring is that kind of presence with another. About 30 years ago, I had the privilege of co-officiating a wedding for Don and Gretchen. Don was, both were in second marriages. They met not through the internet, because that long ago we didn't have the internet dating kind of services, but through a newspaper ad. 6 weeks after they met, they were now at the wedding. 6 weeks. I thought, boy, that's not very much time. And not only that, he decided to go to seminary. So 2 days after they got married, they drove to Denver and he enrolled in Iowa School of Theology. Eventually he became a United Methodist minister, served churches in various parts of the country, and was quite successful. 5 years ago, he was doing the wedding for his son on a lake in Maine. A tick bit him. He developed severe Lyme disease, and within 5 weeks, he was in ICU. He has symptoms like paralysis, like a Parkinson's paralysis condition, makes it very difficult for him to walk. He's about 6'4". He had been a professional golfer, a hockey player, very athletic. So for me now, reconnecting with Don, we have this relationship of caregiving. And I can say that for me, that relationship has benefits for me almost even more than for Don, I think. There is something very rich in the caregiving relationship where it is really a give and take. those of us who are caregivers and those of us who are on the care receiving spirit oftentimes find ourselves doubly blessed. So with that, I just want to say I'm really glad for this presentation today focused on caregiving, and I'm really delighted that we have now the three folks who are going to give some insight into that. Pam and Gary with the Stress Busters support program. So, do I turn it over to you, Pam?
Yeah, give that one to Gary.
Give that one to him.
Please.
That guy over here.
Okay, thank you.
Can I help in any way? Anything I can do to help facilitate?
You know, technology, you can't live with it and you can't live without it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay, so I'm Pam Chambers, and Gary and I run, in fact, we've done 2 of the groups here, and we do them here at the United Methodist Church because it really partners well with Caring Through Dementia and the Memory Cafe. But anyway, it is Stress Busters, and it is for caregivers of people who are caregiving for a loved one who has dementia. And so it doesn't matter if the person is at home, it doesn't matter if they're in a memory care facility, you're still the primary caregiver. And how many of you were here when we presented before? Okay. So anyway, the first thing, we teach a lot of stress busting techniques because and the breathing is really the basis of all of the stress management techniques that we teach. If you know how to breathe correctly, you can get your stress relieved, because it's real hard to be stressful if you're taking those great big deep breaths. And so right now I want you to put your hand here on your chest, and I want you to put your hand on your abdomen, and I want you to take a deep breath, and I want your hand on your abdomen to go out. Do it again. Because most of us breathe and it stops right here. And where you want it to stop is down here. So, I'm going to teach you the 4x4 breathing.
A common method used to teach relaxation breathing is the 4x4 technique. To practice this technique, sit comfortably in your chair with your back against the support of the chair and your arms resting in your lap. Your feet should be flat on the floor. You will be taking in a slow, deep breath through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for a count of 4. Breathe out slowly through your mouth for a count of 4, and then rest for a count of 4. As you do this exercise, with each inhalation, breathe in peace, and with each exhalation, breathe out tension. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2.
Okay, I want you to be doing it with it.
Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Rest. 2, 3, 4.
Okay, it says you have to be sitting, but you don't have to be sitting. You can be standing. You can do this at the grocery store. You can do this when you're talking with your loved one. You can do this anywhere. Okay, and then there's also one where you do the same thing, but you breathe in, you hold it, you breathe out, but then you breathe out with a sigh. And so you're and you let that out. And it's amazing what a sigh does for you, like when you're really stressed. Okay, I'm going to introduce my husband Gary now, and he's going to finish up our short presentation.
Okay, thank you, Pam. You can kind of see where that technique is something that is kind of bedrock and foundational to other things that you might do. It's pretty simple, but you think about it, sometimes we don't do the most simple things that take care of us, and that's one of them right there, is just how to breathe when you get in kind of a stressful situation. So that's something to kind of remember, and again, it's foundational to some of the other techniques that we teach during the program. One of the things also about the sigh, we've done that forever. If you, geez, one more time, that kind of thing. You've done that before, but marry it with this technique also, and you find that you've got a little bit more power with your breathing, something that can help you along a little bit further if you want to put that sigh with it.
Now, I wouldn't suggest that in the grocery store.
Well, maybe sometimes, when you see the price of eggs or something, that kind of stuff. Okay, we got there. We added this quote in here that we thought was pretty appropriate this week, given what has happened and the circumstances. So we share it with you. There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who've been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, and those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. It's pretty axiomatic. That's pretty the real thing right there, and you notice who that is attributed to. And I would think she's had a lot of experience, and a lot of her life had to do with caregiving and being part of that caregiving process. There's 4 areas of the program, the stress busting program, that we would want you to know about. And quickly, I will just offer them to you. Support, problem-solving skills, education, and stress management techniques. It's not a class so much as it is time to come together for support, group support, some place in time that you could be with people that are dealing with the same issues that you are. A little bit of problem solving there. It's amazing at times what a group can do together. Group problem solving is a pretty handy thing to be able to use and to go through. Education, again, teaching you those stress busting techniques and some things that are useful to you. If you're a caregiver and you have lots of this going on, it's always, which there is, a lot of things going on as a caregiver, some extra information, some new things is always important and useful. And then, of course, we've talked about stress management techniques and shared one of them with you. Okay, small groups. It's a confidential group. It is a closed group. We usually have 6 to 8 in a group, and the focus is on the caregiver. This is a little different than what other groups that you might have encountered with dementia and dementia care. This is on the person that's there, that's the caregiver. And Pam, I think, mentioned that caregiving can be long distance. It can be in your own home. It can be down the street at an assisted living. There's a lot of different ways that you can do caregiving, and this is one of those things, though, that focuses and zeroes in on that caregiver, and we want to talk about your well-being. Stress management techniques introduced every week. We would start with the one that we shared with you, and then we'll go through the 9-week program once a week with a new one to add. And there's a little bit of homework. It's kind of things that you would want to go through and talk about and think about in your head to share, or maybe not to share when you come back to the group each week. It's not homework. It's not a long multiplication table page that you have to fill out. It's a little something a little bit different. And it is no cost. I'll tell you a little bit about that. One thing, through the generosity of the United Methodist Church, we have a place that is really ideal for what we're doing. It's a nice quiet spot in the road. They have made space for us on Tuesdays, and beforehand, before the first group that we did on Wednesdays, about an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half period of time for 9 weeks. Pam and I have experience with dementia in our own families, and Pam went through this program back a number of years ago when her mother was going through dementia, and she was able to see the benefits of the program. So it's somebody that's already done this thing. And I lived it, I guess, secondhand when she would come home. I knew the kinds of things that she was learning and the kinds of relief and tension relief that it was allowing her, and it helped me out too. So we offer this at no cost. We think it's important. We think it's something that is unfortunately rampant in the Green Valley community, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And of course, Jerry and the church here has done a great job of starting that, and we look at what we're doing as something that supplements and adds on to the value of what's being done in the community. How they work? Okay. There are 2 facilitators. Pam and I, we are looking at training some other facilitators. We can do that as master facilitators. And what we want to do is spread this and spread the word. There's just 2 facilitators. We've had 2 groups, and we're looking at another one in January. And we're thinking, my goodness, we could spread this because the need is there. There are lots of folks out there that are caregivers that need a spot in the road to be cared for. And this is what this is for. So there's 2 facilitators in a group. We guide conversation. We make sure everyone has a chance to talk. Not everybody wants to talk every time, and that's good. That's okay. That's just the way that works. We listen a lot. We learn a lot that we can share back either with that group or take with us to perhaps the next group. There are 6 to 8 participants. I think I may have mentioned that. We share in the discussion. We talk about the kind of things that we're learning and the kind of things that go on with us as caregivers. And it's a sharing time that for that hour and a half. And then at the end, we tack on that, yikes,
Stress management technique.
Stress management technique. Hello. It was in the head there somewhere. We focus on themselves and the well-being. I can't say that enough. There's only one time during the 9-week period that we talk about the person that has dementia and the dementia itself. The focus is on the caregiver. Okay. All right. That pretty well gives you a line on what we've been doing, and I appreciate some of you that have heard this before, and you're going, yeah, okay, all right, I've heard this, I've seen this before, but thank you for your patience. But everybody else that now has a kind of an opportunity to know what we are doing and what we're about. Are there questions? Are there things that we could answer for you about what we're doing? Yes,
How
ma'am.
do you sign up for it?
I've got sheets right over here. One is for the Caregiver for Dementia group. We also offer a Caregiver for Chronic Illness group. And then we also offer, now we're taking signups for facilitators if you're interested in becoming a facilitator. So the sign-up sheets will be right over here. And then in the group, you're given both the dementia and the chronic illness. You're given a workbook that was developed at the University of Texas, San Antonio, there at the medical center. So it's evidence-based, it's research-based program. And then also the United Methodist Church bought our first 10 books for us. So that was fabulous. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm going to come at it at a little different angle. I'm a veterinarian, 50 years, a boarded surgeon, having noxious chemicals for 50 years, 8 hours a day. What are you going to tell me to do other than, and I don't have, it's all self-induced. It was brought upon in my work.
It's rough.
Yeah, it sounds like a tough spot to be.
No, but it doesn't get bad as most of them. I see people all the time. But I knew when I was in there, because at that time they didn't have ventilation systems 50, 70 years ago.
Right.
Even ether, we took straight, methoxyfluorine, isoflurane, and the whole works. And I think I'm doing pretty well, but I know what they're going through.
Right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Cynthia.
Yes, I'm delighted that Cynthia Wolcott's with us, and someone else is with us too, huh?
Yeah, I am her granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
I know I'm way too young to have a granddaughter.
My
But it
goodness,
happens
yeah.
to us here
Yeah.
in Green Valley.
I'm really delighted Cynthia is with us today. Cynthia is a geriatric social worker and has started a practice here, a private practice, which I think is a really important resource for our community. So somebody who not only kind of knows what is out there, but also can help really get plugged in.
Yes.
So we've got another PowerPoint. How about that?
Another.
2 in 1 day.
Okay.
Will.
Do you want to put this?
Yeah, she needs this.
He's gonna rig you up
This
with a
too.
mic.
Okay.
It's down.
Oh,
Sorry,
I have
turned it down.
handouts up here, so if you guys want to stretch your legs for a minute, grab a handout and a brochure so that you have my information, and then we'll start this when I
All right.
get
Good
wired
idea.
up. And that'll give you a chance to stretch for a second.
So,
Sign ups for dementia support,
this will
the
be
caregiver support group,
attached to your name tag.
and if anybody wants to
Yeah, like that.
do the
And then
training.
you can just put that in your pocket or clip it to your waistband. Yeah. And then this is for the camera. So you can just attach
Okay.
that right there. That's all it is.
All right, make sure I can,
You're being recorded here right now, just so you know.
okay.
On the camera.
Helps if you turn it on. Did everybody get a handout? You'll want to take it home.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah. You'll want to take those home because I'm going to throw a lot of information at you.
Some days are
Thanks.
move around and some days we'd rather not.
Any of you that attended Green Valley Cares meeting here 2 or 3 months ago, Dr. Domer did a presentation on healthy aging in the brain, so I have absconded with a lot of his slides, so you may see some repeats if you've been here. I've got one here.
Oh, you got
Yeah.
one there.
He's adjusting me. This is for Erica when she gets
Oh, okay, got it. Thanks.
when she gets here. And so I'm giving the credits to Mr. Dahmer, not Jeffrey Dahmer, Domer, Timothy Domer. And so he reminds us that we have to get that right because he does not eat people. It's what he says. But Dr. Domer is a retired gerontologist, and I know he's been here. I saw his video a couple of times, so hopefully he didn't do this same presentation. But what I'm going to talk about today is final seasons, of course, and it's final seasons, which means plural. So we're going to go through multiple seasons in our lifetime. And these final seasons are several different seasons as we travel this journey of aging. And so I'm talking about some of the things on general aging and the things that are Green Valley moments and not something that we need to take a pill for. Okay, so we're going to find that there's a lot of changes as we age. Erica is my granddaughter. She has moved here from Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself and what brought her here.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. I just recently moved from Michigan, so they're getting a lot of snow there right now, so I'm very happy to be in Arizona. My grandma here, Cynthia, just started up this business within the last year, and I worked at a larger retirement community in Michigan where they aged from independent to assisted, memory care, some skilled nursing. I did some administrative assistant work there and some billing specialists. So I was excited to have this opportunity to work more with hands-on and the actual upfront care of the retirement community that is very much needed everywhere, but specifically in Arizona here in Green Valley. So I'm excited to maybe talk to each of you if you have any questions, and I hope you enjoy the presentation.
So I'm excited to have Erica. I was working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week until she came. And so it's been a good relief to be able to sit in my pajamas for a couple hours in the morning before I have to get up and begin my journey of the day. So loving what I do, final seasons, the geriatric care management, there are brochures up front. So what we do is come into the home, we assess what the situation is that's going on. We try to offer supports where they're needed. If not, if we can't offer the supports, then we help to coordinate those supports for you outside of our company. But a lot of great information out there. I did hospice work for 25 years, and I've worked for several hospices in this area. And so I'm familiar with resources, familiar with what's out there, and I have a plethora of information in my brain that I love to share. And so I love being able to get out there and give people the information that they need. I just sat with a gentleman at Prestige this morning, and he's a retired attorney, but he's paraplegic. And so we were talking about some of his needs today, and I said, you know, I learn so much more from you than every time I come in. And he says, no, I learn more from you. So we had that debate about who was going to learn the most today. But love what I do. And so Jeffrey Dahmer did this presentation, and I loved it because he talked about the brain. And when he shared the information, I just became enthusiastic about it, and I shared it with everybody. So many of the little snippets that he shared during that presentation that meant so much to me, because we immediately think that we're aging and that Alzheimer's is sitting right here just waiting to get a hold of us, with everything that we're going through, especially the caregivers, because you see your loved ones traveling the journey. So you think, oh my gosh, because I forgot that name or I can't pull up that information, I'm right behind them, and that's not necessarily the case. And so Dr. Domer, talks about this. One of the things, I love this little cartoon. It doesn't show up very well, but, we got worried about you when you didn't come to the park. So we all have somebody out there, that cares about where we are, what's going on with us. And we may seem alone at times, but, the pigeons here are caring. And so they noticed that we weren't at the park. So we all have losses, we all have declines, we all have changes that we deal with on a daily basis. So aging is a natural process. It affects all of us and every organ in our body. Dr. Domer showed this one, and he talked about, as we grow, little catastrophic events happen, through the years, which narrows this lifespan. You may have the big stroke here, you may have a heart attack here, and eventually we die. There's no alternative to that. We're all going to die at some point. But, it's those little catastrophic events that happen, through our lifetime that changes that directory, that direction that we're going. So he talked about it here, successful aging. If we can successfully age, it's a slow, steady decline. That's where I'm hoping I am, and that one day I just fall out doing a presentation. So, that's my hope. The odds are, with my family history, mine's going to look more like this one, as I age. I'm hoping not. We have a lot of heart issues in my family, a lot of dementia in my family, so I'm hoping to stay busy enough. I refuse to retire. So, I'm going to keep doing this for as long as I can because I love helping people. So it's hurting again. All of these changes that we're going through. Grief is our partner at this stage in our life. We're seeing changes in our own physical bodies. We're seeing changes in loved ones. We're seeing so many losses. We've lost our identity with our jobs. We've lost our, we've moved from what was always familiar, to new territories. So lots of grief that we travel during this journey. And those of you as caregivers especially, because I took care of my husband for 15 years with a lengthy illness. And through that 15 years, I was able to grieve the whole way, which was wonderful, because when he did finally pass, it was a little easier. It was grief and relief when we got to that point. I have another client that her husband, playing golf 7 days a week, perfectly healthy, never took a pill in his life, and he just fell on the floor in front of her and had a cardiac blood clot that went to his lungs and killed him instantly. And so that's how I hope I go, but the odds are not. My husband, who is also partnering with us in this business, took care of his first wife for 15 years with Alzheimer's. And he was the primary caregiver through the entire 15 years. And the last 5 years, she was nonverbal, non-ambulatory, and he said it was a blessing because she quit talking, because it was the same question over and over and over again. So that last 5 years, it was pretty quiet, but they had a wonderful time together. And so he knows the dementia and the Alzheimer's journey firsthand. And he knows the pain that comes with it all. So expected physical changes. Things here, I gave you the handout, so I'm not going to go through it all because these are kind of lengthy. But, this is the young, healthy heart, and this is our aging heart. Larger gaps, things are slowing down, the muscles aren't as good as they used to be. So everything changes. We have the arteries beginning to clog up. I'm doing a workshop right now. I sort of prepared it for this one on vascular dementia, but then I changed wheels, in the past. But in the future, I may do something on vascular dementia. Heart rate targets. At 20 years old, you're looking at 130 to 160 beats per minute. and up to 200. And as we get to be 70, it's 98 to 120 beats a minute. And then 150 is our max. So everything slows down as we travel this journey. This is a bone. This is the thigh bone. And you can see how it thins out. It changes. There again, this is a perspective from Dr. Domer. I'm not an expert on bone. I'm not an expert on brains. I'm not an expert on anything, actually. I just learn a lot from other people's information. So I am sharing information. But he said this is a normal 25-year-old bone in the thigh. And this is what it looks like at 63. So we begin to lose bone mass. Those changes happen. And so we're more fragile. So making sure. He talked about vitamin B12. No, vitamin D being the most important thing that we can focus on. Is making sure that our vitamin D levels are up. And even if we're living here in Arizona, we don't necessarily have that level that we need for good bone health and good heart health. Same thing with our skin. This is the normal younger skin level. We've got a nice high skin level. Everything is in good shape. These things begin to thin out as we bruise easily and to get skin tears easily. All of those things happen with that aging skin. So instead of looking at the depressing things, look at what's a blessing. So spend time every day. Focusing on what you can find. And it may only be matching socks today. Sometimes it's as simple as that. I've got a pair of matching shoes. I've got a pair of matching socks. And that might have to search that hard to find something beautiful. But they're there. And if we can focus on those beautiful things rather than those hard moments, it's going to help us get through that day. Here's the brain. Dr. Domer talked about as we age, our brain also shrinks, the mass of our brain. And so he said this is the young, healthy brain, and this is the older brain. So the biggest concern that he talked about with our brains changing is the fact that our skull is still the same size. And so we have more space in there for the brain to flop around. So when we fall or we hit the floor or we get whiplash in the car, that brain has more space to be traumatized in that skull because the mass is not as large as it was. So it's vitally important that we protect our heads and our brains because we can do damage very easily through that process. So wearing helmets, being cautious to not delay getting a head injury checked. We put that off because we think, oh, I'm okay. It was just a fall. So don't hesitate to go in and get that checked. So brain volume decreases 3.3 to 5%, as we're aging. So processing speed slows. This was the part that was so impressive for me with Dr. Domer's presentation, was that our normal aging process, it's like everything else in our body. The brain slows down. So he said every part of our brain is a memory. That memories start from the womb and progress up to however old we are. And so, it's like that file drawer. And when we first open up that file drawer as a 5-year-old, it's pretty empty, so we can get through there pretty quick. But when we get to be 71, 78, 85 years old, that file drawer is pretty full of memories. There's a lot going on in there. So when those memories all start coming together, because they're in all parts of your brain, and when those memories start coming together to form a thought, he used the example of a knife. And for some of us, it might be that bagel that we had for breakfast and the knife that we used the cream cheese and the butter with. And yet, Erica may have had somebody pull a knife on her at some point as a weapon. And so her response from these memories is going to be completely different from my response, seeing the same thing. So we really have to think about, in that processing, we're more distracted. Learning new information slows down. More distractions, still able to learn and process information though. So remember that we're never too old to continue to learn. And then the higher risk of head trauma. So there's a normal aging brain, and this is an Alzheimer's brain. And I know you've all seen a million of those. So activities. Group is better than one-on-one. So what you're doing here today, is the best thing that you can do for your health, for your mental health, for your physical health. Walking, 21 minutes a day if you can do a brisk walk. Take your loved one out with the dementia and walk with them if they can still walk, because it's the best exercise for them also. So Tai Chi, getting on YouTube, Googling some Tai Chi, it's one of the best exercises for strength, balance, and your well-being. One of the best things that you can do. Resistance training, the bands. Anybody been through physical therapy here? I know I have. We all have those rubber bands that were given to us in physical therapy. So if you don't have them, go get you some. And you can do it in your own home. You don't have to have a gym membership. So the recommended exercise levels, that's all in your handout, so I'm not going to go through all of that. Here are some things that I thought were interesting. These are the levels that you need on an average day, but just gardening, going out and cleaning the light brush from the yard, doing the things that you do on an everyday basis, it's worth something. There's value in that exercise that you're getting. Home activity. Erica now does the dishes. So I get an escape from that kitchen duty there, but she's getting exercise. She's getting exercise, vacuuming, scrubbing the floors, all of the things that we do. It's all good credit, to our activity level. So keep doing it. Keep doing as much as you can. Stair climbing at a slow pace. Walking 2.5 miles, on a firm surface. All of those things, they all add up. One of the biggest increases with our geriatric population is alcohol use. I currently have 2 alcoholics on my caseload one of them was drinking 2 half gallons of brandy a week. The other one is drinking 5/5 of whiskey a week. And so we're working on getting them back down to a level. Alcohol is not our friend. There's an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, AFib, stroke risks. They're all increased. Breast cancer, higher risk of breast cancer in drinkers. Cancer of the head, neck, and digestive system are highly impacted by alcohol use. So alcohol, liver disease, and cirrhosis, that's the first thing we always think about, but actually all of these things should be what we're thinking about. Gallstones, pancreatitis, and osteoporosis are all affected by alcohol use. So vital that we think twice before we tip the bottle, because it's not the answer to our problems. And so the deep breathing, the exercise, all of these things are the best alternative. We now, it's my understanding, this is a rumor, but where Beehive Assisted Living used to be is now going to be a rehab for drugs and alcohol because of the need down here for treatment. One of my clients just spent a week in Banner Hospital detoxing, and then another week in a skilled nursing to finish his detox, as we're trying to get him off of the alcohol. Alcohol risk factors. Excessive or frequent alcohol use reduces the quality of life for individuals, their families, and others around them, potentially leading to problems with relationships and work. Accidents and trauma. This is the big one I see. Both of my alcoholics have been at Banner Trauma Unit because of falls. Accidents, poor choices. One of them decided, he's using a 3-wheel walker, and he decided to get on an electric scooter and give it a joyride. So it wasn't a good choice. He forgot where the brake was, and he was in the trauma unit. So part of what I do as a geriatric care manager is that I follow people to the urgent care, to the emergency room, to make sure that they have an advocate that's saying no. You know, the lady that I said her husband died and fell, we got an ambulance fee and an emergency room and radiology. They did over $200,000 worth of tests on this man that was dead before he left his home. Because there wasn't anyone there that knew to say no, that knew that they didn't need to do all of this. The man was gone. So, you know, we need advocates. We need people that are familiar with these surroundings and able to do all of this. So, increased risk of violence and suicide. I just had a neighbor that shot himself. And he was, you know, he had a lot of different issues going on, a lot of alcohol use, you know, and just decided that didn't want to deal with it. Increased risk of violence and suicide. So the suicide crisis line, remember, 988. If anybody here is ever thinking of harming themselves in any way, you know, that's a number that's going to get you to someone that is a mental health professional, and they can help you through that journey. So the alcohol, Kenneth Merkemole, you know, I got all of the information on the alcohol risk. I actually got that from a provider that is working with one of my alcoholic clients. And so she felt it was definitely worth addressing because she's running into it a lot. There's my brochure again. They're on the counter. Final seasons. Erica and I will come out and do an assessment, help you make whatever decisions you need to make. Final season's key responsibilities as geriatric care management is understanding the needs and the limitations of the individuals. The specific needs, assisting in daily activities, whatever it takes. I have a caregiver that I'm going in to do a full assessment with next week. She's taking care of her mother. She said, I'm exhausted. I need someone to talk to, you know, and so with my mental health background, I do the coaching, so she's interested in having me come in to sit with her to help her travel this journey, and then also her mother. So, you know, we're going to have 2 sessions a week where I come in and we just assess what's going on and just be that listening ear and give advice the best way that I know how. And so building a support network, providing that emotional support, building that network, you know, the Veterans Administration through your medical teams, your social worker, advocacy and communication with your healthcare providers. My providers that are referring to me now absolutely love us. In fact, the guy that went to the emergency room that spent 2 weeks in, he was in his urologist. And she called me and she said, he just fell in my office. He's heading for Banner. Can you follow him? And then they gave me the son's number. So I got my consent signed through the son. I went right up to Banner Medical and began advocating. So we found out about the alcohol. We didn't know any of that until I began researching what was going on with him. And I got a hold of a neighbor that was taking him to the grocery store, so he was able to give me the 5/5 information. And so, you know, that's what I do as that advocate, you know, sitting in a hospital room with someone that's comatose. So I wasn't able to ask him anything. So it was through his community. And then clear and effective communication. It's crucial to ensure that the person's needs are met, attending medical appointments, providing and receiving accurate information. So many of my clients are not able to give the providers the information that they need. So I go in with always and give them the actual information that's accurate, you know, and what's going to benefit. I just had a gentleman that said, I don't know what I would have done if you weren't there, because I didn't remember any of this. And so, you know, he was pleased that I was there advocating for him. So, the 3 C's in life: choices, chances, changes. You must make the choice to make the chance, to take the chance, and to make anything in life change. So everything that we do is about the 3 C's: choices, chances, and changes. So the groups, the group that you have now, the memory care, the memory cafe, the support groups, you know, all of these things are vital. And I know your time is valuable. I know it's difficult to get out and get away from the people that you're caring for, but that is vitally important that you get the support that you need. This is not a marathon, or this is not a quarter-mile run. Okay, not the quarter mile, it's the marathon that we're on. So it's not going to end quickly. And so, you know, being strong, having those supports. Whoops. So thank you. Any questions on, I'm great with handouts. I'm so ADHD that and they tell me that only 65% of what is verbally spoken is received in our brains. So I'm great with handouts, so I always send those handouts home with everyone so they can review them and re-review them. Yes, ma'am.
See, you have advanced directives, living wills, care planning.
I do all of that, and I'm a traveling notary. And so, you know, I can also notarize those and help. I do have some 5 wishes over here on the table, so that's a great thing to review because it really talks a lot about choices. I'm an advocate for Arizona, the Arizona Advanced Directives website. And you can type in MPOA, Medical Power of Attorney, just MPOA, and it'll bring up Arizona's site. And you can download and print out Arizona's actual, and then you can register your advanced directives on their website, which can be accessed by every hospital. So having those advanced directives, I have a DNR. Erica says, well, you're too young. She says, you know, you don't want your heart started again? I said, no. If I get that close to being with Jesus and you bring me back, I'm going to be really upset. So, you know, I know that 25 years of hospice work, I know that if my heart stops for any reason, I'm not going to come back as well as I was. And I really don't want to live disabled. And so I really thought about this and prayed about this a lot. But when my heart stops, I do not want to be resuscitated. So everyone needs to evaluate, you know, where they're at with that journey. You know, many of you still have a huge responsibility at home. And so you have to think about what's best for them, you know, when you're making those advanced directives. But vitally important. Any other questions?
You know, it seems to me like what you're doing is pulling together all of these loose ends, all of these resources that are out there. You know, you get the specialist doctor, you get the all the rest of the medical thing, you've got the financial issues, you got all of that stuff, and the living arrangement, and you're really you know, pulling the whole thing together, the whole, yeah, which is absolutely crucial, it seems to me.
It's
so missing in our current medical model,
yes,
which is all focused around specialists around the corners. So I guess I know you talked before when you were here about your fees, that do you want to say just a word about that?
Okay.
Fee for service, you're not.
This is a fee for service. I was employed by a hospice agency up till 2 weeks ago. And then they sold and I decided not to follow them. Okay. And so I am currently self-employed only. It is strictly for profit. I'm not a nonprofit, although you wouldn't know it by my paycheck right now. Since April, I have been nonprofit. So a lot of money invested into marketing and all of the things of starting up a business, buying a car, doing the things that has to happen. And so now I'm looking to buy a handicap accessible van, one where I can take a client with a wheelchair. So the gentleman that actually shot himself has one. And so we're waiting for all of the technical stuff to get done to see if I can afford to access that. Yes?
I get bulletins from CMS.
And of course, you're aware that there's big changes with geriatric case management, and they'll now pay for it through insurance. So I don't know if they're looking at a hospital setting and one of their managers, or you can do it, maybe affiliating yourself with the hospital. But that would be a beautiful thing, and we could afford you through our insurance. I know that Humana will do that. The other thing I'm thinking about is I live in an area where there is tremendous number of single people, probably half the population of my little development. And most of them, I think, worry about getting dementia. Who's going to take care of them? They don't have...
Who is their advocate? Yes. And that's our biggest population, are the single people in our community. I have one, I shared this before, one 87-year-old that's perfectly healthy. She's still driving. She's actually moving to La Posada so she can be in the transitional living environment. But she says, what would happen if I died? Who would find my cat? You know, who would even know that I died? You know, even though she's active in the community, she says, I don't want everybody knowing my business.
Who cares about these babies?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, right, those babies. So, you know, I see her once a week for coaching, and then I'm on call for emergency. If her car breaks down on the interstate, somebody's going to come to meet with her. Somebody's going to come to get her and find out what she needs. You know, so this is all about what we're doing. Everything is individually based. It's all on what your needs are. This lady, it's $300 a month. I bill on a monthly basis because I hate bookkeeping. So I bill on a monthly basis, and she's making me reevaluate some things. But so, you know, there may be some future changes. But as of right now, you know, we do it on a monthly basis. I can do hourly. If you want to just have a consult, you know, bring me in, it's $40 an hour. And, you know, for just a consult, for information, you know, to pick my brain, I'm okay with all that. I do a free informational, so I will come to your home, talk about what the needs are. That's all free of charge. I usually spend an hour, hour and a half, you know, with everyone when I come in, and we talk about what it is. Then I come back. It's $150 for the initial assessment, which is my coming in, evaluating everything, getting it all down on paper, going back home, coming up with a couple of treatment plans that I think would be appropriate based on my professional opinion. And then we come back together and we discuss these options. And then they decide, you know, what's going to work best for them. We are not here to make, I was mentored by someone that owned a caregiver agency that was a geriatric care manager. And she mentored me for one 30-minute intervention. And I discovered that was not the approach I wanted to take. She says, oh, if you bill in 15-minute increments, you can make $60,000 a month. And I said, yeah, you know, this is not what I'm about. So I'm not about taking advantage of people. I'm about helping people. And that's what we're all about, you know, with Final Seasons. So if that gives you an idea, you know, my highest right now, I have the lady that her husband, I don't want to give too much detail, but you know, she has some memory issues, and she wants to stay in her home. So I'm seeing her twice a day, 7 days a week, you know, to make sure that she can maintain at home successfully. So that's an intensive care plan for her, but she wants to be at home, and so. You know, so I don't want to work 7 days a week, but fortunately I've got Erica here now, so. So, but any other questions? Did that answer kind of give you a synopsis of, yes. So.
And feel free, if you know of anybody, like you're saying, you know, in your community, take some extra brochures. We have business cards. And yeah, definitely keep our name, you know, in the back of your head or the front of your head.
And it's
excited to really grow.
It's as much or as little as someone needs. Like I said, if they just want that daughter close by, you know, that they can call, you know, then we can work out a plan, you know, so that they have someone to call on.
nice to kind of think of us as, I like to think of it kind of as an extra family member. Like we're
Yeah.
that daughter that can't be there or isn't there.
Yes.
You know, we can kind of advocate for that and be a professional advocate, you know, in that kind of way.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay, if you want, no, Jerry,
Hopefully
Oh.
everybody-
no, Jerry, if you want to use it, you can.
We're good.
Yeah, Jerry, give it to Jerry for him to use.
We're done.
She's saying basically, oh yeah, are you done with the video?
I can stop recording if you
Okay,
want.
stop it now,
Okay,
so we're
sure.
good. All right.
So just say thanks for coming, everybody, and thanks for viewing on the
Thank you.
video.
Cynthia and Erica, is that right?